Hey guys, Primal Chaos here. Welcome to the channel. Today marks a little bit of a turning point for the channel. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and we all know that originally this channel started with the intention of exposing myself to more extreme vocal styles, like, you know, your metalcores, deathcores, and things like that. And, you know, while that's been happening, as you guys have probably noticed, it's gone kind of off the rails in that degree and moving more into just music that's just different and unusual and definitely reactable, you know. And so, you know, we've had the introduction of artists like Dimash, right, which brought a lot of new people into the community. And, you know, and now moving into territory with bands like The Who. I've got a Higher Lung video I'm about to put up as well. It's becoming less and less about raw and a little bit more about just really interesting types of music. And so with all of that being said, today's special artist is going to be a band that doesn't even have a vocalist, but you guys have routinely asked for it over and over and over again. So I'm going to react to Polyphia, don't know, G.O.A.T, G.O.A.T, greatest of all time, possibly. I don't know. That's all I know. Aside from the fact that I have an inkling that these guys are more, what's the word? Like virtuosic performers, kind of like your Animals as Leaders, kind of just extreme level of talent and ability playing. I could be wrong. That's the inkling I've got. You know, sometimes you've heard of a band and you've heard them float around your periphery, and you just weren't aware of what they do. You just seen some dudes wearing shirts and people talking about them, but you've never heard them and you don't really have a concept of what they're offering. You just know that there's something special about them. That's my relationship with Polyphia. Correct me in the comments. I'd really love to know how to not make an idiot out of myself. So, without further ado, let's just jump straight in. Ooh, nice transition. Come on. First of all, I can't believe I already have thoughts. What's really interesting is how they're slowly integrating the band members into the video as their parts appear in the song, which I think is just, I love it when they work closely with somebody making the visual material and they sort of work in unison to make it like a sum of its parts rather than just two separate things. Second of all, there's some guitar sounds going on there. I couldn't even begin to explain how they're happening. It almost sounds like he's like playing harmonics and then turning the tuning pegs, but he's not. You know how you see guys do that with acoustic guitar typically, like they'll be sort of doing a lot of very percussive playing, and then they'll do a thing where they'll hit like a, you know, and they'll tune it, you know. Except they do it well. In the middle of a song, you'll hear them do that sort of thing. And I'm trying to work out how those little pitch bend sort of things happen, because it sounds like a synth. It doesn't sound like a guitar. And also that little dip where it's like, just right here, where they're zooming in and then all of a sudden it just drops into the floor. Really, really cool. It's like a whole music box thing. Do you ever see something that just makes you want to completely quit what you're doing? Look, I admit, going into this journey has exposed me to a lot of new and modern guitar players, right? And it's made me hyper aware of my status as a guitar player, which is to say I'm as good as I should be after playing for like 25 years or something, like however long it's been, without really having any kind of reasonable practicing. You know what I mean? Like I can noodle pretty good and stuff like that. And I understand the fundamentals of guitar, but am I a great guitar player? I wouldn't say so. And so seeing things like this, it just makes me go, oh, I've got to start all over again. And that seems like it's a really hard thing to do. But it's honestly, it's driving me to sort of get back in. I got my guitar reset up and I switched out some pickups and did some stuff to it. So, you know, the next step on the journey is to get back and start practicing some fundamentals. But you know what? It's 10 years before I can come close to writing something like what these guys have got right here. This is craziness. So many ghost notes. If you guys understood how hard it is to get clean harmonics, like technique wise, how to just sort of bust out like they're using natural harmonics, right? So like a natural harmonic is when you take a fret and you play, you don't actually fret the note, like this would be playing the notes. But what you can do is you can just lay your finger really gently on there and take it off. And it just sort of deadens the string enough so that only the harmonic rings through. I know it's hard to hear, right? But to be able to be doing like and just hit those harmonics that clean, it's all technique. You know, these guys, the problem with bands like this, everything they're doing, it sounds like, okay, to the initial reaction, you know that they're doing something difficult, right? But if you're not aware of what they're doing at a fundamental level, you don't understand how difficult it is to do what they're doing so cleanly. And the fact that they're all using clean guitar sounds. The first thing rock players tend to do is learn to use distortion and gain to mask their lack of precision, right? And so you can't hide when you're playing a clean sound. Everything's there. It's all warts and all. Everything you're doing is obvious, right? Every mistake you make, every note you don't hit cleanly, you can hear it. When you've got a high gain sound, which is like a distorted sort of sound like you'd hear with any other metal band, you can hide a lot of sins behind that level of distortion. When you're playing these clean bell-like tones, there's nowhere to hide. And so every little articulation and nuanced part of the playing is only amplified even more by the fact that they're playing everything else around it so perfectly. And so, you know, you'll sit there and you'll if these guys just missed one little articulation or like just a note didn't hit cleanly, it would sound super obvious because they're super clean on every other note. So literally the only way to play this song is with absolute precision and perfection. Simple as that. Come on. I love how dry the mix is too. Again, nowhere to hide. When you have big lush sort of sweeping reverbs and stuff like that, it's a little bit easier to cover some not so clean playing. And in this case, they've got it dry as. It's like, it almost sounds deadened in a way, you know, so that every single punctuated or syncopated ghost note pops through with absolute clarity, you know. Hang on, where are we up to? 209. I want to jump back. I could swear... No, okay. Yeah, I thought for a second there's some band members switched up. But I might be just imagining things. Let's go to 204. I wonder if there's any correlation to the parts they're playing up in the... So there's an above and a below dichotomy, right? Where they're playing here with this sort of clean church background, and then they drop down to the underbelly, which is obviously lit to be a little bit more dark and sinister. And I wonder if there's any correlation to what they're playing in each of those parts, or if they're just randomly moving. A bit more distorted in the bass. Oh my god, the groove. Okay, just one thing I want to point out about this guy is God, does he make what he's doing look easy. He's just the master of, like, complex simplicity, right? Whew, that's crazy. It's just like, there's so much going on there that's just, I mean, they all do. That's the thing. It's him as well. I'm just noticing it in the drums, because the drums appear more complicated when you're playing. There's a lot more going on. But he's taking something that sounds simple, and trust me when I say it's not. Come on. It sounds programmed. It sounds like they just programmed it in like a DAW, like a digital audio workstation is what, when people say DAW, D-A-W, they mean any software you use to record multi-track material. But it sounds like they just sequenced it all with virtual instruments. It doesn't sound like people played this. And I know that they did. And that's messing with me on a fundamental level. Wow. Oh, cool. They got dry ice on the stage. Those harmonics again. It's just so clean. I can't even... The amount of hours of just grinding that requires to get to this level is it doesn't seem like any of these guys are old enough to have pushed it that far. You know what I mean? I know it's finishing, but I'm not done yet. I gotta go back. Now, the thing that's weird, like, you know, there's a lot of you sort of rhythm Nazis out there. this has all been 4/4, right? There's nothing too kooky about it. They're just accenting and syncopating so heavily that it sounds like it's, you know, I mean, I can easily count 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're not doing like the excessive sort of meter changes or anything like that. It's literally just accenting. I like that. It's got a nice sort of walking pace to it, right? And it gives everything the room to breathe. How does he? There's a whammy flutter in there, and I don't see how he gets the time to get to it. You saw him reach for it though. Wow. So what I'm talking about there is like he's doing like this. He's playing all. I'm not even going to attempt to do what he's doing, but like, you know, he's playing like a run, like, and then he'll hit like the harmonic. I really should plug my amps in for this, like that, and then he's reaching down and doing a whammy flutter. I'm trying to get it loud enough. And so what that is you got your whammy bar here, right? And so when you hit a note, you can bend the note up or down, depending on what sort of bridge you have here. I got a floating tremolo, which I'm pretty sure he does too, which means you can bend up or down, and you can do these flutters. So he's hitting like a harmonic, like that. But the fact that he's doing all of this complicated playing, and then hitting that harmonic perfectly, and then at the exact same time somehow managing to get his hand down to the whammy bar to give it just a little articulation on there. I mean, at this point I'm just nerding out. This is just wild. That music box thing is just wild too. It's really cool. Because it's just slightly out of tune, and I think that's perfect. Wow. We'll be right back. That seemed really complicated. You know what else is complicated? Putting together an outfit when you're colorblind. If you're one of the 1 in 6 guys or 1 in 200 women that's colorblind, there's something you can do about it. Click the link in my description. It'll take you to Enchroma, where you can do an eye test and find out what kind of colorblindness you have. And you can get some corrective lenses while you're there. They have frames to suit everybody. And if you use the code CHAOS in checkout, you'll get 10% off. Tell them Primal Chaos sent you. So what is there to say about this? I mean, there's just people who are on a different level. They look at, they take an instrument, a piece of wood with 6 metal strings and some electromagnets on it, and they just see it different to everyone else. And, you know, this happens. It's not uncommon. There's artists out there that have been doing this since the dawn of the advent of music. But when you find, 5 guys? Is it 5? That are all at that level. They all seek out, like, just the fundamentals, and then they just tweak them in a different direction. You know, you get something like this, and it's inspirational to everybody who ever picked up the instrument and learned a blues lick, you know, or learned how to play the 4-chord rock. You know what I mean? It just shows that you don't need to. You can buck with tradition, and you can come up with a whole new interesting set of tools. You know. Now I have no other experience with these guys. I don't know what the rest of their music sounds like, but this was a really interesting journey. What else was interesting I noticed was that you have a situation where typically the centerpiece of any band will be the vocalist, right? They'll have the melody, and they'll have generally be the jumping off point where you connect as a listener to the band, right? Because initially you can relate to the melody that you want to sing along to, or you relate to the lyrics or the energy of the passionate sort of front person sort of vibe. These guys managed to do all of that as individuals in a group of, you know, 5 or 4 or whatever, how many guys is in the band. You know, a lot of times with instrumental bands, you sort of think, well, couldn't they just get a singer? You know, in many ways, there's no room for a singer in this band. There's no point. you'd have to remove some of the greatness in order to squeeze in something to make them a little bit more relatable. And I don't think that that's necessary. You know, you don't have to have a doctorate in musicology to understand what they're doing either, which is another part of their talent. They take something as esoteric as what they're playing, and clearly virtuosic, and they somehow manage to make it palatable with just simplistic melodies and rhythms that sound a lot simpler than they are. And that kind of makes them accessible. You know, they're not trying to push the levels of heaviness, or they're not trying to sort of exclude an entire audience by just being over the top, wild and shreddy. They come up with really interesting textural complexity that sounds simpler than it is, but is clearly not, you know. And so the great thing about that is, no matter what level of a listener you are, you'll always find something interesting within the palette of what they're delivering. Man, I mean, each individual player is flawless. Like they're all masters of syncopation and ghost notes and just textural rhythms and things like that. And you know what? I don't think I remember hearing a single thing that was a standard guitar fundamental, like a chord. You know what I mean? It was all there. It's all there, but it's not executed in a way that's just towing the line. You know what I mean? They found a way to tweak and spin every single fundamental part of playing their instruments. But yeah, so, I mean, wow, what an amazing band. Every single member is just a complete genius. I'd love to know the backstory about how they got together and how they found each other. So if you know, hit me up in the comments. I'm really curious to read through some of those. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. This group of people get together at the level they're at. There must be something more behind it. Then again, maybe not. The world's a weird place. So yeah, but anyway, thank you so much for this recommendation. It's been really good. I'm kind of speechless, to be honest with you, after just speaking for like a good 10 minutes. Yeah, but as usual, if you feel like I've brightened your day at all, feel free to buy me a coffee. And of course, more importantly, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff is great. It allows me to reach more people. And I'm just about to hit 3,000 subscribers, which again, every time I say this, it's mind-blowing, but it's always mind-blowing, right? I don't know where all you guys come from, but it seems to be everywhere. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to check in and see, you know, what's going on my channel, as humble as it might be. And again, straight from my heart, thanks guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.